Today is November 15, and it is now 6 days after Election Day, and we still don't know the results in some states. This is because they are still being counted. But is this normal? No, it is not, and we cannot pretend it is. America was born on July 4th, 1776, and since that day, we've always known the outcomes of every single election, if not the day of, the day after. But why is this year different? That's what we're going to be going over in this episode. I'm Demetrios Araujo, and you are watching the Demetrios Araujo Show. Without further ado, let's begin.
I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
It is a bad time in history when elections take more time to count than one day. Also, at the same exact time, we have voting machines being disabled for most of the day within the United States. And at the same exact time as all of those things, we have mail-in ballots still being accepted on November 12th, which is 4 days after Election Day. These are the type of things that make people lose trust in elections. And when people lose trust in elections, it's not only bad for the people that are within the system, but it's also bad for the people that are outside of the system because they do not trust the people. They do not trust the people within the system to give them the right and fair election results. And if they do not trust the people within the system, allowing them to express their views and express their votes, then they're not going to use it anymore. And that will cause a domino effect throughout the whole entire United States, causing it to not be useful anymore. Instead of censoring the people that have questions about our elections, they refuse to answer, which causes even more questions to form. And when they go out of their way to censor people for asking questions like they did in 2020, that causes people to double down after the fact. And even if it is not true, that's why we still are going to be, and that's why we are going to be showing the facts on this episode. So without further ado, let's begin. So in Washoe County, where we had a camera that was made for us to actually watch the counting happen, we had that camera, that same exact camera I just went over, turn off for 8 hours in the middle of the night on Election Day. And I know that some people can say that this is an accident, and you know what, I might not doubt you. But let's look at Maricopa County, where there was this problem, where there was a problem with the tabulating machine, where 1 out of 3 votes were not being counted and had to be put in a so-called number 3 box, where, quote, a Republican or a Democrat will count your votes later in the day. Okay, so maybe that's just a coincidence. Maybe it is, but you know what? Let's look at another thing. We look at Pennsylvania, where John Fetterman's team sued the Supreme Court to allow ballots that were misdated on the envelope and mail-ins that were misdated on the envelope of mail-ins to be counted in this election. Now, that's starting to look very fishy. But how about Arizona, where according to a Phoenix writer for the Washington Post, locals know it's election month? Why are these votes taking so long to count? And why is it that in other countries, like India, for example, that have over 1 billion people, they know exactly who won the election by the day of? Yes, you can say that all of the things that I said were just coincidences. But how many times do we need to have coincidences done to us to actually question whether or not we are being deceived? It is a sad day in American history that we cannot trust our own elections. Now, without further ado, let's dig into a dozen takes.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take I got no love.
Okay, so beginning with our first article, we have a student suspect in custody after 3 football players shot dead and 2 people wounded at the University of Virginia, police say. So, going on with the article, we have, according to CNN, police have in custody a University of Virginia student, an ex-UVA football player, suspected of fatally shooting 3 current players and wounding 2 others late Sunday at the school's main campus in Charlottesville, as a bus returned from a class field trip, a school official said. The suspect, Christopher Donnell Jones Jr., faces 3 charges of second-degree murder and 3 counts of using a handgun in the commission of a felony. UVA police officer Chief Timothy Longo Sr. told reporters Monday morning as a hours-long manhunt came to an end and authorities lifted a campus lockdown order. Jones was arrested without incident around 11 a.m. Eastern Time, about 80 miles east of Charlottesville in Henrico County. The county's police agency said in a statement, an officer spotted the vehicle Jones was driving in the eastern area of Henrico, where he was taken into custody without incident, according to news released from the police station. Police have not offered a motive for the attack. Those killed were Devin Charlander, Level Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry. University President Jim Ryan said, the 2 wounded students are being treated at UVA Medical Center, with one in crucial condition and the other in good condition, he said, declining to name them. One of the 2 students was identified as Michael Hollins, according to Andrew Martin, the head football coach at the university lab in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Holland is a junior at UVA and is a running back at the school's football team, according to the team's roster. CNN has reached out to Holland's family but has not received a response. This is sad, shocking, and tragic day for UVA students, Ryan said. Let me say how deeply sorry I am for the victims and for their family and friends. Carla Williams, UVA athletics director, said in a statement that as a mother herself, she aches for the parents and family members of the victims. We lost 3 talented and bright young men. Williams said, we will never see what their impact in the world would have been, but we will never forget the impact on us. I miss Level, Deshaun, and Devin, and I pray for peace, comfort, and hope for their parents and loved ones. So, again, we have this article, yet another shooting on a campus. Now, when are we going to take away the lessons that we need to take away from this very thing? When are we going to take away the fact that we need more security? When are we going to take that away? Why are we going to take away guns from people that do not cause these kinds of shootings? Why are we going to go and do that? Why are we not going to hire more security, more police officers, and more armed people at these campuses? Just like elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools alike, these campuses, college campuses, should have even more security because they even have more people on the campuses at one time than the elementary, middle, and high schools. So why are we not going to take away the lessons that we need to take away? That's because they want to look away. They want to run away from the solutions and the problems that they created themselves. They want to defund the police but not look at the buildings being burnt from the people that are not following the laws. They want to sit here and claim that they have no idea what is going on and what violent uptakes in crime that's going on within their countries, their cities, but then complain and say that we need to take away the guns from the people that are obeying the law. That's not fair. It's like you blaming the other twin that you have because the other person committed is being a troublemaker, committed the crime. It's like, why punish the people that did not do anything? Punish the people that actually did. How about we have more armed cops on the campus to protect these people? This should have never happened. One life is too much lives. So let's dig into the next article we have from CNN. We have Xi Jinping and Biden cooled the heat, but China and the United States are still on collusion course. So, digging in with the article, we have the world can breathe a little easier after U.S. President Joe Biden talks with Chinese leader Xi Jinping on Monday. But the 21st century superpowers are still on a collusion course. The summit in Indonesia, yielded 2 important outcomes, according to the United States. A joint position that Russia might not use a nuclear weapon in Ukraine, and as expected, resumption for talks on climate between American and Chinese negotiators, a boost for the COP27 Global Climate Conference in Europe. Biden, meanwhile, reported that he stressed to Xi Jinping that Beijing has an obligation to temper North Korea's destabilizing missile and nuclear activity that has the Pacific region on edge. That the world's two most powerful leaders had not been addressing these issues together in recent months shows how the entire world suffers when Washington and Beijing are deeply estranged as they've been this year. Public statements from both sides also appear to indicate a basic foundation that each recognize the crucial nature of their rivalry, and both want to ensure that it does not boil over into a war, at least yet. They are moving towards reopening more regular conversations. United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is now expected to visit China next year. Such exchanges have been suspended since House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan in August and triggered fierce Chinese protests and a vast military opposition, showing a growing capacity to cut off the self-governing island. Communications between leaders are crucial at times of crisis, and any understanding and trust between Xi Jinping and Biden could come into play in the event, for instance, that the two sides' naval forces slide into a clash in the southern China Sea. Biden has known Xi for years, and having a channel to the top of Beijing is especially vital now that his counterpart has become synchronous with the Chinese state itself, as Xi Jinping thought becomes official doctrine. The lack of such communications between leaders is the one reason why the Russian standoff in the West over Ukraine is so prolicious. Leon Panetta, a former White House chief of staff, defense secretary, and CIA chief who dealt with U.S.-China relations for decades, expressed cautious optimism after the talks on the sidelines of the G20 summit. If the result of this meeting is to put the relationship back on a more diplomatic plane, in which instead of beating each other up, they could begin a dialogue on the kind of issues that they need to deal with. I think that this meeting could be very well be pivotal. Panetta told CNN's John King on Inside Politics. So here's the thing with this. Yes, they both need to get along because it's a superpower. They're both superpowers. But at the same exact time, we need to tell them that Taiwan is an independent country, and China cannot take over Taiwan. These are the questions and conversations that we're not having, and we need to. So, moving on with the next article, we have from MSNBC. We have judge blocking Biden student loan relief made a glaring error. So, if Biden had been able to get the votes he needed in the Senate, student loan relief would have been on the firm legal ground. So, moving on with the article, we have, at the end of the summer, President Joe Biden made good on a campaign pledge by announcing a plan that would erase approximately $430 billion of the $1.6 trillion in student debt held in this country. But last week, Trump-appointed federal judge concluded that Biden's student loan relief program is illegitimate use of presidential authority or executive order. A ruling that brings into clearer focus a battle between a frustrated president and a recalcitrant Congress and a federal judiciary. As many as 26 million people have already applied for student loan forgiveness under the program that now stands in legal limbo because a judge incorrectly allowed this suit to go forward. Under Biden's plan, single people making less than $125,000 per year or married couples making less than $250,000 would be eligible for up to $10,000 in student loan forgiveness. Borrowers who received Pell Grants are eligible for $20,000 in loan forgiveness. As many as 26 million people have already applied for student loan forgiveness under the program that now stands in legal limbo because a judge incorrectly allowed the suit to go forward. But why are you facing the blame on this judge? Why are we not going to face the blame on Joe Biden? If Joe Biden's the one that wants to have the national debt be higher by, what's the amount? $430 billion because the United States has to pay for it now, then why are we going to blame the judge that allowed it to go through? Yes, the judge is very, very stupid for allowing this. But at the same exact time, we need to admit that there is a problem here, and they're the ones that came out with this at the very first place. But here, just in the middle of this, the House midterm elections had just updated at 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time on the day that I'm filming this, November 14th. This is actually Monday, and the House looks like it has been called live on the air right now. So the GOP had now gained enough votes to actually call the House in GOP's favor. So the Democrats have the Senate and the Republicans now have the House. It is now official that the GOP just had 219 seats and the Democrats have 216 seats. This is according to MSNBC. This just happened now. I'm very, very excited. I'm very, very excited. So this just updated right now. Yep. No, exactly. The GOP just won the House. I'm so excited. It took us so long. It is now November 14. And we finally know who controls the House in the United States. This is a very, very exciting day. It's actually 6 days after Election Day, and we now know who controls the House. That is the GOP by one vote. The GOP wins the House by one vote. This is very, very good for us. But it's also worth noting that why is it that this red wave turned into a red trickle? A little splash on the short end of the pool. Why did it turn into this? It just does not make any sense. But moving on to the next story, we have DeSantis follows in Trump's authoritarian footsteps. Now, this is according to MSNBC. So the Florida governor has made the former president's lines and lies his own. So this is according to MSNBC. I just want to say that again. I do not agree with anything that they said. So there are no second chances. It's well known that you cannot go against him. And if you cross him once, you're dead. The unnamed politician told Politico, speaking anonymously to avoid becoming a target. The comment by a former Florida state legislator does not refer to Donald Trump as one might assume, but to another vindictive leader, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. If Ron DeSantis is becoming many Republicans' answer to their Trump problem, his rise is because of his authoritarian sympathies and attitudes, not in spite of him. He promises a more respectable seeming version of a liberal rule than the baggage-laden outrage specialist that is Trump. No wonder dozens of billionaires backed him even before his November re-election. If DeSantis is becoming many Republicans' answer to the Trump problem, his rise, okay, that's exactly what they already said, but they're going to repeat it again over here. It's just MSNBC, you're just so dumb. This is not the United States. The United States is not the first country to have support build among conservative elites for a more deceptive extremist after an unpredictable authoritarian leader takes things too far. As president of the Philippines, fondly reminisce about throwing a man out of a helicopter and said that he would do it again. When Duterte stepped aside this year, in came the smoother Ferdinand Bong Marcos Jr. And this is according to MSNBC. Again, I just want to repeat that. Who surged to power in part by marketing his father's bloody dictatorship as a golden age of social peace. So this, to me, just seems like a hit piece. So to me, this article holds zero water. They're showing absolutely nothing, and I do not agree with this at all. I just want to say that Ron DeSantis, I do agree with you. They're making you out to be a villain, in which you are not. It's just stupid, obviously, because this is MSNBC. Now, going into something I wouldn't say better, but it's something. We're heading into NPR. So control of the House is still up in the air. Here's where things stand. So I just reported that the House actually went to the Republicans, but it has not been officially called yet. It is now projected that the Republicans are going to win. And we can make that projection based off of a couple different factors. But according to NPR, it's still up in the air. So this is actually published on November 14th. So this is actually today, but it was at 5:43 in the morning. And it was just projected at 7:30. So, oh yeah, this was actually before the Senate seat was actually called. So now the House seat's going to be called. So, anyways, as votes continue to trickle in, Republicans are still on track for a narrow majority in the House. But it would most likely be a much smaller one than they are hoping for, and would make legislating difficult in the GOP House. If there are still 19 uncalled races, all except 2 are in the West. With millions of votes left to count in California, California traditionally takes a lot of time to count mail-in ballots. And this is a commonplace for every recent election as it relates to the House races. So it could still be days until control of the House is sorted. Democrats also still retain a long chance at the majority, but they would need multiple races where Republicans are currently leading to shift their decision. More in the path below. So, like I said, the Republicans actually just won the House, so we're going to neglect this article altogether. So, moving on to the next article, No. Oh, okay. Okay, so moving on to the next article, we have NPR. Dave Chappelle monologue disappoints on Sunday Night Live, or Saturday Night Live, I should say. Dave Chappelle's monologue disappoints on Saturday Night Live. But why did he disappoint? Let's find out. So no one walks a rhetorical tightrope as deftly as Dave Chappelle. That thought nagged me while I was watching Chappelle's widely anticipated appearance on last night's Saturday Night Live, while his guest hosting stints after major electoral events have become something of a tradition. But Chappelle didn't devote most time of his monologue to the midterm elections, even though news has broken earlier in that day that Democrats have defined expectations to likely control the House. He spent more time talking about Kanye West and anti-Semitism. First of all, what do you think he's going to talk about? First of all, okay, there's a lot of things to talk about in this one article alone. So why would Dave Chappelle talk about something that's boring? First of all, why would he congratulate the left? He's not a leftist, and maybe he is, but most of what he says, it doesn't seem like he is a leftist, or at least he's just a liberal. He's not a leftist. But the thing is that he doesn't care. Nobody cares about politics. You involving politics into CNN is exactly what ruined SNL. You involving your CNN talking points into SNL is what ruined SNL. You not being funny is what ruined SNL. So he's bringing back funny. NPR, this is exactly something that you would not understand. Politics in pushing a left-wing bias isn't funny. You pushing your opinions into a network, a show that people are just going to look at for an escapism. People want to escape their daily life, not encapsulate themselves into monologues with opinions that are more biased than MSNBC and CNN. We're not going to sit here and be made fun of all the time just because, quote, we can take a joke all the time. We can take a joke more than the left. This is, according to the the owner and the owner of SNL, they make fun of the left more than the right because the right can actually take a joke. But the thing is that yes, the right can take a joke, but there's so many times that we're going to take a joke to say, no, you guys just are not funny anymore. And yeah, we already crossed this line. But Dave Chappelle brought back a breath of fresh air for the new season of SNL. The fact that you guys cannot take a joke is just showing how in your shell you guys are. You're just showing how you're just pushing a left-wing bias, and it's not funny. Nobody finds it funny. People find Dave Chappelle funny because he's actually funny. He's making jokes about things that actually are relevant, and the way that he says stuff is just objectively funny. So if you don't find it funny, that's a you problem, because us in regular society find Dave Chappelle funny. If you don't find him funny, then it's okay. You don't have to find him funny. But it's the thing of you attacking him when he's been way more successful than you. Now, without further ado, we're going to just move on to the next article so we don't have to watch the whole thing. Maybe I'll react to the whole thing because I really did find that funny. Now, moving on to the next article, we have from Fox News, we have Arizona middle school teacher resigns under pressure after pornographic OnlyFans account surfaces. What? So, an Arizona teacher is no longer employed after students scrambled across her OnlyFans account where she has posted pornographic material, prompting outrage from parents. Former Thunderville middle school teacher Samantha Peer released a statement on Facebook Friday afternoon saying that she resigned from her position under pressure from the district after her OnlyFans account was discovered and went public. So, I created content at the beginning of the summer in order to earn extra money on the side to help pay off our basic necessities, and our salaries were no longer meeting. Pierre says in the video posted to Facebook, I chose an anonymous name as well as blocking the entire state of Arizona to my OnlyFans, so that isn't accessible to anyone living in the state. So Pierre, who made graphic videos using the other name, the Alice Chloe Carter, said that on October 24th, it was brought to her attention that a community member has expressed concerns to the police, and that she was placed on paid administrative leave pending an investigation. The Lake Havasu City Police Department said that it received an anonymous tip that a Thunderville teacher was engaging in pornography. The teacher was later identified to be Samantha Peer, 28. The police said in a statement, additionally, it was reported that some of the pornographic images of Miss Peer depicted her in a classroom-type setting, presumably on Thunderbolt school property. The superintendent of the school was advised of the report, and it was learned at the time that they had also received the same information that was initially forwarded to the police department. The police said that they are investigating whether any laws were broken. On October 31st, Pierce said that she decided to resign under pressure, but stressed that she was not fired. Pierre added that her husband Dylan, who was a substitute teacher in the district and was filmed in some of the videos, was fired on November 4th. Well, good. That's disgusting. You're doing it on school property. Pierre, who has also practiced pornographic content of herself engaging in sex acts on Twitter using the name Chloe Carter XXX, claims that it was not until November 6th, after she had resigned, that students in the facility began spreading the information, causing her social media accounts to start buzzing with responses. So it was just an OnlyFans account, and I wouldn't be upset because then I would be 100% on the kids' parents. But it was public and an easy Google search to find everything. 8th grade parent Aaliyah Belinsky told Hezview News. Belinsky told the outlet that her daughter came from school and told her about the situation with Pierre. After she heard the staff talking about it before the story made headlines on November 7th, Lake Havasu Unified School District told parents in an email that the images depicted did not happen during the school day, and the person depicted no longer works for LHUSD. The Lake Havasu Unified School District did not immediately respond to a request from Fox News Digital. Pierre expressed frustration in the video that her teacher salary, despite her having received compensations for her work, did not provide enough to meet her basic needs. I do not think that it is fair to sacrifice my own children's time because of our professional's salary did not pay enough, Pierre said. Pierre said that in a video that parents and students are harassing and intimidating her online by threatening to show her underage children revenge porn. That's disgusting. Pierre also said that her gym has terminated her membership after other gym members took videos of her working out and harassed her. Okay. Now this is going a little bit too far now. Yes, I do understand that it's kind of gross for her to be doing this in the school. But I can also see that if she did try to block them from her OnlyFans account and it did not actually block them, then whose fault is that? I would blame OnlyFans. I would also blame her for even creating the account. But also, I would not harass her at a public gym. Like, why? Why are you going to harass her at a public gym and then get your account terminated? Well, I mean, I can see both sides of the situation, honestly, but it's like, why would you even film porn inside of a school, first of all? That should be illegal in itself. But other than that, I think that she should not have her job. So I think that the school really did make the right call by firing her. Anyways, let's continue to the next article we have from Fox News. We have University of Virginia alleged school shooter Christopher Darnell Jones faced hazing probe as football player. Charlottesville shooting left 3 UVA football players dead after returning from a class trip. I mean, we did already talk about this, but that's the Fox News perspective. It's okay. We're going to skip that article. We have Breitbart. So analysis, New York to pay at least $600 million for illegal immigration influx. That's great. New York City residents will pay at least $600 million for an influx of illegal immigration under Mayor Eric Adams' watch, as Texas Governor Greg Abbott continues sending migrant buses to the sanctuary city, a new analysis reveals. For months, Abbott has been sending border crossers and illegal aliens on buses to a number of sanctuary jurisdictions across the United States, including New York City. Almost immediately, Adams told New Yorkers to get on board with waves of illegal immigrants burdening schools, infrastructure, homeless shelters, and subways. So this is actually a video we have over here. A new estimate from the Independent Budget Office finds a new arrival of nearly 24,000 border crossers and illegal aliens to New York City is set to cost New Yorkers some $600 million over the course of the year. So this is actually them talking about it now. I don't know what this is really showing. Oh, this is the buses. Oh, okay, so this is the buses being dropped off. Yeah, so that's the buses getting dropped off. Yeah, so I mean, you have to appreciate this because of the fact that why should they go to Texas? If New York wants to be a sanctuary city, then you're going to be a sanctuary city. Like what? The IBO has explained that the cost the city will incur over the course of the year to provide services to this population based on the number of asylum seekers who have arrived as early as November. IBO estimates that the city will spend at least $596 million over the course of the year. Our estimates include about $580 million in costs that directly tied to the number of asylum seekers who have already arrived in the city. These include shelter stays, public schools costs, and as well as some health services and immigration legal assistance. Some of those costs, particularly shelter, will fall into the next fiscal year, emphasis added. The total cost of the city services provided to the newly arrived asylum seekers cannot be estimated with certainty, as the number of people that are arriving and remaining in the city continues to evolve. Where possible, we provide the per person or per household cost of various services. We estimate that this year per person household could range from about $1,900 for an individual who does not enter the city's shelter system and receives some health and basic legal services to nearly $93,000 for a family of 4 who entered a shelter for a year and has 2 children enrolled in the city's public schools, along with receiving some health and basic legal services. This can be used to protect total costs once there is a better understanding of the total number of asylum seekers as expected to require services from the city. For example, the arrival of an additional 10,000 asylum seekers, assuming the current mix of households remains constant, would increase costs by around $246 million. While an overall tax burden to the New Yorkers, the arrival of thousands of border crossers and illegal immigrants is providing lucrative of the city's real estate investors and luxury hotel owners who are scoring city contracts to house hundreds in their properties. Even as Adams sent $750,000 to set up sprawling 84,000 square foot migrant tent city on Randall's Island City, officials announced that the tent city will be shuttered soon. Instead, city officials are forcing on cost transferring contracts with luxury hotels across Manhattan, Brockton, and Staten Island, where they're paying millions to rent hotels of hundreds of hotel rooms that are being provided to arriving border crossers and illegal aliens free of charge. Abbott's sending of migrant buses to sanctuary certifications was created to aid Texas with shifting the burden of President Joe Biden's record-setting illegal immigration levels at the United States-Mexico border. While there are 5.5 million border crossers and illegal aliens are estimated to arrive at the southern border, since Biden took office, the administration is welcoming at least 6,200 into American communities every day. So I completely agree with the way that Texas Governor Abbott is handling this, because he's trying to put the Democrats in a position that they're saying, no, actually, we shouldn't take all these people. But why is New York not doing that? It's just because they don't want to admit that they're wrong, and it's disappointing to see. So, actually, moving on to another article we have from the Daily Wire, we have Nevada County confirms live stream video of vote count areas went dark for 8 hours, response to criticism. So this is exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. So county officials in Nevada took over the weekend confirmed that cameras live streaming vote counting areas on Wednesday night and Thursday morning went dark for a total of 8 hours. We know that our election live stream cameras went dark overnight, and we have investigated what happened and how to prevent it from happening again. Warsaw's county Twitter account posted Thursday afternoon, and surprisingly, the tweet went viral, racking up thousands of reactions, which included questions concerning election integrity. We know that our election live stream camera is okay. That's exactly what they said. So the live stream computer application lost connection with the courtesy cameras at 11:24 p.m. the evening of November 9. The country said on its website, all staff had left for the night about 60 minutes earlier and did not arrive back to the office until 7 a.m. Connection was restored at 7:53 a.m. the morning of November 10. The courtesy cameras are connected to a computer application designed for live stream events, most likely OBS. The country's site continues. They immediately lost connection with the application, which this had happened before, such as the election night with one camera went dark. Staff was able to see the disruption and restore it. Security footage was also reviewed. The county said, according to the Washoe County Security Administrator, that footage shows the parking garage and the hallway between the garage and the entry doors to the registrar's office. He had affirmed that no one entered the ballot room or registrar's office at the time of the courtesy live stream was down. But why was there not somebody like watching the live stream, watching OBS to make sure that it was not going offline? If you know that this is going to question people, if the people are going to lose integrity, election integrity, and trust in the system, why are you not having somebody look at this 24/7? Why? You can't look at the bottom. It says live at the bottom. Recording on my computer. It literally says recording right now. Why? You can't look at that? You can't have somebody look at that to make sure that no questions come out of this election. It seems like you're very, very lazy by protecting us, the citizens, and protecting the integrity of the election system. Notably, the United States Senate race in Nevada was called for Democrats on Saturday, which meant that the Republicans had failed to gain enough seats to take back the majority, since ties have been broken by the vice president. The GOP was hopeful former State Attorney General Adam Lexit, a Republican, would flip the blue seat by ousting incumbent Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto, despite Lexit leading in a prior polling. The Republican failed to best the Democrat. The GOP thought that the race was locked up. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, during a National Republican Senatorial Committee phone call Friday, went as far as to say that there is no mathematical way Lexit loses. If he does, then it's a lie. Lindsey Graham suggested on NRSC call yesterday that fraud in Nevada would be the only way GOP loses. There's no mathematical way that Lexit loses, Graham said. Questions over election integrity from both sides of the political aisle have dominated news cycles in recent years. One main issue is certainly the influx of vote mail-in into initiatives that led to vote counts lingering for days or even weeks after Election Day. Politico in October acknowledged the shift, declaring Election Day is dead. Long live election month. So I completely agree. I talked about this at the beginning of the video, and I completely stand by everything that's in this article. It's just very, very shady. Like, you cannot have somebody watch like a program on the computer to make sure it doesn't go offline. Like, it's so easy. Make sure if it does go offline, how about you release all the footage? Like, how about you actually try here? So moving into the next article, we actually have United Nations call on Russia to pay Ukraine war reparations. So let's see what comes of this. Members of the United Nations General Assembly on Monday called upon Russia to pay Ukraine war reparations due to violations of international law. The resolutions passed with 94 countries in favor and 14 opposed, with Russia, China, and Iran among the disapproving parties, while 73 countries abstained. Stronger than other stances taken against Russia by the international body, the resolution also calls for a creation of an international mechanism for the reparations. The General Assembly reaffirmed its commitment. The General Assembly reaffirmed its commitment to the sovereignty, independence, unity, and territorial integrity of Ukraine in the resolution, and demanded that Russia immediately cease its use of force against Ukraine by completely and unconditionally withdrawing all military assets from the country. Among the nations approving the measure were the United States, France, Norway, Germany, and the United Kingdom. A far more robust margin of nations affirmed a resolution last month exhorting member states to refrain from recognizing 4 regions of Ukraine claimed by Russia, as well as demanding that Moscow reverse the attempted illegal inaction. China voted against the former resolution and abstained with the letter, while India abstained from both. Member states of NATO sent thousands of troops to neighboring Eastern European countries in February after Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered the invasion of his country's neighbor. The United States has sent more than $9.8 billion with a B in humanitarian and military assistance to Ukraine over the past several months. Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky recently submitted an expedited application to become a member of NATO, while asserting that his Russian counterpart must step down before peace talks could begin. Ukraine was and remains a leader in negotiation efforts. It was our state that always offered Russia to reach an agreement on coexistence on equal, honest, decent, and fair terms. He said in a video message, "It is not obvious that this is impossible with the Russian president. He does not know what dignity and honesty are. Therefore, we are ready for dialogue with Russia, but already with another president of Russia. The invasion of Ukraine has applied pressure to the global economy, which has already been battling high inflation and backlogged supply chains following the lockdown-induced recession. Developing nations, as well as several leading European economies, have been especially pinched by Russia severely limiting natural gas exports. The Nord Stream pipeline, which delivers fuel under the Baltic Sea, recently witnessed unprecedented damage from an unknown actor. Ministers of the European Union have introduced proposals to redistribute fossil fuels profits in order to pay for residents' power bills. United States Secretary General Antonio called on attendees at climate conference COP27 to tax the windfall profits of fossil fuel companies, which have benefited from rising energy prices, noting that the funds could have been redirected toward people struggling with rising food and energy prices, and to countries suffering loss and damage caused by the climate crisis. But I completely agree with this. So this is the thing. Though, at the same exact time. Why are we not going to acknowledge that the Nord Stream pipeline was most likely broken and disrupted and attacked by Russia? Why would Russia not want to attack something that Europe relies on? Obviously, Russia knows that they're losing the war, so they're going to do anything. They're going to say, oh, no more gas at all. Oh, no more gas at all. Now Russia can't get anything. But this was done on purpose. Now let's get into the next article we have from the AP. Okay. Okay, so continuing with the AP article, we have Biden. Okay, so continuing with the AP article, we have Biden and Xi Jinping clash on Taiwan but aim to manage, quote, manage differences. So, digging into the article, we have President Joe Biden objected directly to China's cohesive and increasingly aggressive actions toward Taiwan during the first in-person meeting of his presidency with Xi Jinping, as the two superpower leaders aimed on Monday to manage their differences in the competition for global interference. The nearly 3-hour meeting was the highlight of Biden's week-long round-the-world trip to the Middle East and Asia, and came at the crucial juncture for the two countries amid increasing economic and security tensions. Speaking at a news conference afterward, Biden said that when it comes to China, the United States would compete vigorously, and I'm not looking for conflict. And that's exactly what he needs to say. We cannot get into conflict with China because of the fact that we should have them as an ally more than an enemy. And people are making fun of the way that Donald Trump used to handshake, but Joe Biden is doing the exact same thing. It's a sincere way of handshaking. Anyways, that's a side part. Let's continue. So he added, I absolutely believe that there is no need for a new Cold War between America and the rising Asian power. Biden reinitiated U.S. support for its long-lasting One China policy. Okay, so he's reinitiating a long-standing One China policy, but the thing is, okay, let's just continue, because before I put my input on this subject, I want to make sure that I get the whole entire of what they're trying to say. Let's start from the beginning. Biden reinitiated a U.S. support for its longstanding One China policy, which recognizing government in Beijing while allowing for informal American relations and defense ties with Taipei and strategic ambiguity. over whether the United States would respond militarily if the island was attacked. He also said that despite China's recent saber rattling, he does not believe there's an imminent attempt on the part of China to invade Taiwan. But I don't know fully if this is true, because why would the Chinese government accept and tell you what they're going to do before they do it? So I don't really trust the Chinese government. Xi Jinping, according to the Chinese government's account of the meeting, stressed that Taiwan's question is at a very core of China's core interests, the bedrock of the political foundation in China's United States relations, and the first red line that must not be crossed in the United States-China relations. Biden said that he and Xi also discussed Russia's aggression toward Ukraine and reaffirmed our shared belief that the use or even the threat of nuclear weapons is totally unacceptable, and that's in quotes. That was a difference to Moscow's thinly veiled threats to use atomic weapons as its nearly 9th-month invasion of Ukraine has flattered. Chinese officials have long reaffirmed from public criticism of the Russia's war, although Beijing has avoided direct support of the Russians, such as supplying arms. While there are no watershed breakthroughs, the Biden-Xi meeting brought each side long sought, if modest, gains, and addition to the shared condemnation of the Russian nuclear threats. Biden appeared to secure from Xi the reassumption of lower-level cooperation from China on the range of shared global challenges. Meanwhile, Xi, who also aimed to establish China as a geopolitical peer to the United States, got symbolic home turf for the meeting, as well as Biden's forceful one China policy commitment. The White House said Biden and Xi agreed to empower key senior officials to work on areas of political cooperation, including tackling climate change and maintaining global financial, health, and food sustainability. Beijing had cut off such contacts with the United States in protest of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's trip to Taiwan in August. Okay, now here's the thing. That's key because of the fact that Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan and got the Medal of Honor from Taiwan for standing with Taiwan. Now they're just going to ignore all of that. And why are we tackling climate change? The climate only changed 2 degrees in the last 5,000 years. So we're complaining about climate change now, maintaining global finance. Well, I guess if China wants to donate their money for food sustainability, I guess we'll have to see it. And they need to take away their statement that they said about the House Speaker when she went to Taiwan, because we as America should stay with Taiwan, because Taiwan is a independent country. It's not with China. So that's just that. Now let's dig into the next article. We have appeals court ruling keeps Biden's student debt plan on hold, and as it should. Why would we allow Joe Biden to spend billions of dollars as an executive order? Let's dig into the article. President Joe Biden's plan to forgive student loan debt for millions of borrowers was handed another legal loss Monday when a federal appeals court panel agreed to a preliminary injunction halting the program while an appeal plays it out. The ruling by the 3-judge panel from the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in St. Louis came days after a federal judge in Texas blocked the program, saying it usurped Congress's power to make laws. The Texas case was appealed, and the administration is likely to appeal the 8th Circuit ruling as well. The plan will cancel $10,000 in student loan debt for those making less than $125,000 households with less than $250,000 in income. Pell Grant recipients who typically demonstrate more financial need would get an additional $10,000 debt forgiven, so a total of $20,000. The cancellation applies to federal student loans used to attend undergraduate and graduate school, along with Parent Plus loans. The Congressional Budget Office has said that the program would cost about $400 billion over the next 3 decades. That's absurd. $300 billion, and we're in debt now. So we're going to add more debt. Okay, here's the thing. You should not be adding more billions of dollars into the debt based off of an executive order. You should get that passed through Congress. And that's my takes on that. Now, digging into the next article, we have the Federalist. So Republican leaders have a choice: roll back early voting in mail-in ballots or learn to take advantage of them. And I totally agree. Let's dig into the article right now. Republicans apparently learned very little from the 2020 election, with turned out voting and vote counting into a chaotic multi-week affair, all to the great advantage of Democrats. After finding their party blown out of the water by early votes and mail-in ballots, both vastly expanded the accumulate the pandemic hysteria. Elected GOP leaders seem to have thought to themselves, well, better luck next time. And here we are in an election year that should have seen major gains for Republicans across the board. The party failed to take the Senate. Could still a week after Election Day fail to secure the House. Now, I just announced that we did take through the House, but that's okay. And now on life support for the governorship in Arizona. There isn't just one reason for the shortcomings, but none are more important than the party's neglect in adopting to our new jungle of an election process. For the past 2 years, every Republican should have been either attempting to beat back the flood of, quote, no excuse mail-in ballots, saturating swing states, or building up a party network that could adopt it. There were some efforts to manage the mail-in voting problem in Arizona and Georgia, but otherwise the party said its prayers and hoped for the best heading into the midterms. We see how the strategy turned out. Democrats once again turned on the ignition, and their army of activists began knocking on doors and dialing up their reliable voters to be sure that every single one of them knew the time to vote was now. Whether it was 3 weeks or a month before actual election day, it didn't matter. Now, in response, Republicans donned a toothy smile and told their voters to keep Tuesday open. Wait in line no matter how long it takes. True Republicans tend to be a lot more motivated than Democrats to vote in a non-political campaign year. They're happy to drive to the booth and wait their turn. But the new reality is that elections are happening for weeks before designated day for an official in-person voting. That's a lot of time for dedicated activists to call or visit the homes of their voters, no matter how unmotivated they are, and tell them that they don't have to wait at all. They can cast their ballot right now. Want me to do it for you? ? That's the question they're asking. When is Republican National Committee Chair Ronald McDaniel on this? Where's the National Republican Congressional Committee Chair Tom Emmer? Where's the National Republican Senatorial Committee Chair Rick Scott? They're the ones responsible for leading on these things, but they did nothing. Now they're chiefly making plans for their future leadership positions and fundraising operations. If elected, Republicans aren't prepared to roll all of this back to the pre-pandemic way of doing things. I know the media will call you racist, boo-hoo. Then they'll have to adopt and develop their own way of pushing their voters to cast ballots for weeks leading up to the election day. That's what Democrats are doing, and it's working. And I completely agree with this article. They have months and months and months to gather all the votes that they need to actually cast on election day. I mean, I'm not saying that every single one of these votes are false. I'm not saying that any of these votes are false that are mailing in. But if we have the votes early, why are we taking so long to actually count the votes? Shouldn't we have the votes immediately on election day? We should already have them counted if they were cast weeks and months ago before election day. Why wouldn't we have the votes counted for November 8th? It just doesn't make any sense. Digging into the next article from the Federalist, we have midterm voters rewarded elected officials who stood up to COVID tyrants. I completely agree. Let's dig in. Notable governors who fought to keep their states open and senators who pushed to hold COVID bureaucrats accountable were rewarded Tuesday. Despite Democrats' attempts to backpedal their COVID shutdowns and fear-mongering, the American people have not forgotten their racial abuses of power radical races, the radical abuses of power, as evidenced by how close New York came to electing a Republican governor after a COVID era situation of the state's Democratic leaders. But voters also haven't forgotten who pushed back against the insanity. From governors who fought to keep their state economies open to senators who pushed to hold COVID bureaucrats accountable, many major figures who stood up to COVID tyrants were rewarded by their constituents at the ballot box on Tuesday. Senator Rand Paul, Senator Ron Johnson, Senator-elect Eric Scummett, Governor Ron DeSantis, Governor Kristi Noem. All of these people stood up to the bureaucrats within the government and made sure that their cities and states stayed open during COVID. And all of these people got reelected or elected at the very first place. Now, I completely agree with any of this. If you're given your freedom, yeah, we should repay you by electing you or re-electing you in some cases. Now, without further ado, let's dig into the drama section.
I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it. Fuse like a magnet, lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket.
Kyrie Irving apologized Thursday for sharing a, quote, anti-Semitic material on Twitter, but he's still facing at least a 5-game suspension for his behavior in recent days. Now, this is published on November 4th, but in recent time, he has been suspended permanently. Now, the Brockton Nets announced that the suspension Thursday morning, one day after the team put out a joint statement with Irving promising large donations to organizations working to combat hate and provide community education. The new statement criticized Irving for failing to apologize for his actions during a Thursday meeting with reporters. We're dismayed today. When giving an opportunity for a media session, Kyrie refused to unequivocally say that he has no anti-Semitic beliefs nor acknowledge specific hateful material in the film, that this was not the first time he had the opportunity, but failed to clarify. Such failure to disavow anti-Semitism is deeply disturbing and constitutes conduct detrimental to the team, the Nets statement said. The team said Irving would be suspended without pay until he sacrifices a series of objective remedial measures that address the harmful impact of his conduct, and that the suspension would last at least 5 games. About 4 hours after the Nets released the statement, Irving posted a lengthy apology on Instagram, acknowledging that the documentary he promoted contained anti-Semitic statements, narratives, and language. To all my Jewish friends and families that are hurt and affected from my posts, I am deeply sorry to have caused you pain, and I apologize, he said. Adam Silver comments on Kyrie Irving. Irving's apology came to the week of not just the suspension announcement, but also the critical statement from the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver. Silver said Thursday that Irving should specifically apologize for tweeting a link to an anti-Semitic film and denounce the hateful messages the film contains. Kyrie Irving made a reckless decision this is his quote, Kyrie Irving made a reckless decision to post a link to a film containing deeply offensive anti-Semitic material. While we appreciate the fact that he agreed to work with the Brockton Nets and the Anti-Semitic Defamation League to combat anti-Semitism and other forms of discrimination, I am fully disappointed that he has not offered an unqualifiable apology and more specifically denounced the vile and harmful content contained in the film he chose to publicize. But he never publicized it. He just sent a link. He didn't even say any comments about it. He just posted a link, but okay. I will be meeting with Kyrie in person in the next week to discuss the situation, the commissioner said in a statement. Kyrie Irving and the Brockton Nets announced donation. Silver's statement came one day after Irving and the Nets announced plans to donate $500,000 each toward causes and organizations that work to eradicate hate and intolerance. The team and player also said that they would work with the Anti-Defamation League to develop programming combating all forms of anti-Semitism and bigotry. The statement explaining these donations and innovatives included comments from Irving, who, like rapper Kanye West, has faced intense pushback in recent days, tried to his social media activity. So the basketball player said that he takes responsibility for the negative impact of his tweet about the anti-Semitic documentary. I oppose all forms of hatred and opposition and stand along with communities that are marginalized and impacted every day, Irving said. But what has Kyrie Irving said about anti-Semitism? Irving's Wednesday comments and Thursday's apology came after he spread several days resisting calls to apologize for a tweet. I'm not going to stand down on anything I believe in, and I'm not going to get stronger because I'm not alone. I have a whole army around me, Irving said to reporters on Saturday, according to the Washington Post, but he changed his tune on Sunday after the owner of Brockton Nets spoke out and finally deleted the tweet. So the whole entire team is sitting here in fight anti-Semitism shirts. So that's great. So the Brockton Nets suspended Kyrie Irving, and they go on. Nike suspends a relationship with Kyrie Irving. What will happen to Kyrie Irving? So Irving's apology on Instagram will likely satisfy part of his objective promotorial measures outlined by the Nets, but it's still unclear when the star player will be back on the court. Some NBA player insiders have said that the Nets have explored a trade in recent days, but that other teams aren't interested in Kyrie's baggage. Quote, baggage. I talked to a lot of people around the league over the weekend, and the sense I get right now is that he's radioactive. Even if you drop the price to nothing, the baggage is just too much. ESPN's Zach Lowe said on a podcast this week, according to Bleacher's Report. So that's just crazy, though. Imagine having a value at nothing, and people are still saying that you're baggage because you said something online. You tweeted a link. How about we step back, okay, and we say you can have a different opinion, but as long as you say you don't agree with everything in this documentary, because you can agree with some part of the documentary and then still disagree with most of the documentary. You sent us a link because you were watching it and you said, no, you know what? I'm just investigating something here. Let me get on the right track, but I don't have all my details yet on this matter, but, this is the documentary I'm watching. Boom. And then you get canceled. You get your life ruined because you're asking questions. This is exactly what happened in 2020. You're asking questions and people don't like you asking questions. You're asking the wrong questions. Stop asking the questions that you're asking. You're being a bad person. Stop asking questions. That's exactly what they're telling you, Kyrie. Stop asking questions. This is exactly what they want you to do because they want you to just comply and stop asking questions. And I will say that once more. Stop asking questions. You ask questions, you get banned, you get your life ruined, and this is exactly it. But, this is the world we live in. It's very, very upsetting. And I don't stand for any of it. You know what? You can have your own opinion. If it's hateful, whatever. You know what? That's your freedom of speech. That's what people have to realize. That's your freedom of speech. If you don't agree with it, unfollow him. Oh my God, unfollow him. Block him. Mute him. You have all these options to do on Twitter if you don't want to see his posts. But you're going to ruin his life because he said something you don't agree with? No. I am a freedom of speech extremist, and I believe that you have the right to say whatever you want. If you suffer the consequences for your actions, whatever. If you suffer the consequences, as long as you're in it for the long run, that's your prerogative. So, with that being said, let's get into the investment news.
I just wanna be greatness. I just wanna be greatness. I just wanna be greatness.
Okay, so what we're going to be talking about in the investment news is all of the people that lost a lot of money on the FTX implosion. So we're going to talk about the FTX implosion on Friday fully because I wanted to mainly focus on election stuff this episode. But on Friday, we're going to be talking about the FTX implosion. But here's all these celebrities that lost big on that, according to the Daily Wire. So a host of celebrities stand to lose massive stakes in cryptocurrency platform FTX after the company suddenly went under last week. FTX filed for bankruptcy on Friday after users discovered that firms controlled by Sam Bankman Fried, the 30-year-old founder of FTX, were likely fraudulated, intertwined. The entrepreneur went from maintaining a $15.6 billion net worth to having no material wealth virtually overnight, according to data from the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. That's massive. That's crazy. Among other aggressive marketing efforts, FTX had solicited a number of professional athletes to participate in advertisements featuring the exchange platform. Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady and supermodel Gisele Bündchen, who divorced last month, were once brand ambassadors with the company and held equity stakes, according to the recent report from FTX. Golden State Warriors player Steph Curry was also made an ambassador for the company and given shares, according to a report from MarketWatch. Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence agreed to a multi-year sponsorship contract with FTX in which he would receive cryptocurrency as a part of his signing bonus. The company also signed deals to become an official cryptocurrency exchange partner of Major League Baseball and paid to call the Miami Heat's home court the FTX Arena until at least 2040. Blockfolio, a subsidiary of FTX, became a sponsor of Barstool Sports. Founder Dave Portnoy's retail investing show, Dively Daytrader Global. According to Portnoy, the company was their biggest client ever. Influencer and athlete Logan Paul partnered with FTX ahead of his fight with Floyd Mayweather, while comedian Larry David appeared in a Super Bowl commercial for FTX earlier this year. Los Angeles Angels pitcher and outfield Shoel Ohtani Asaska. According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, account holders reportedly had difficulty removing their assets from FTX after the company filed for bankruptcy. It's not clear whether those celebrities paid in cryptocurrency continued to manage their digital coins in FTX accounts. Probably not. I would have took that out immediately. At least some celebrities and investors, however, were wise enough to avoid FTX and Bankman-Fried, as revealed in messages between Elon Musk and investment banker Michael Grimes. The perpetrated wonderkind had expressed interest in joining the world's richest man as he acquired social media company Twitter, though both a multi-billion-dollar stake and assistance with engineering blockchain component for the platform. When approached by Grimes about the potential partnership, Musk said that he was backlogged with a mountain of critical work matters and observed that supporting Twitter via blockchain would be impossible, since the bandwidth requirements would demand an absolutely gigantic peer-to-peer network that would defeat the purpose of decentralization. After Grimes said that Bankman-Fried would still be invested in Musk's vision of Twitter purely for the investment standpoint, the world's richest man agreed to speak with him later, as long as he did not have a laborious blockchain debate. Once the cryptocurrencies exchange fizzled, Musk confirmed on social media that he had never trusted Bankman-Fried. He set off my BS detector, Musk said, which is why I do not think that he had $3 billion. That's why I can appreciate Elon Musk. He would just sit there and be like, no, I never trusted you. You set off my BS detector immediately. I love him. Bankman-Fried, a self-proclaimed effective ale trust, contributed nearly $39 million to support Democrats in recent midterm elections, which occurred days before his company imploded. According to data from Open Secrets, he had been preparing to spend as much as $1 billion during the 2024 election cycle to keep Democratic Party in control of the White House. Yeah, about that. Like I said, we're going to talk more about this in Friday's show, but that's what we have right now for that. But we do have this from the street. So Tesla recalls 40,000 vehicles possible. Huge problem. So that's really bad right now. The electric car vehicle the maker is warning Tesla owners about an issue that could be dangerous if not fixed. These have been tough times for Tesla. Tesla stock just keeps going down by the day. The electric vehicle maker has seen its shares fall largely due to concerns about CEO Elon Musk's $44 billion purchase of Twitter. But Twitter has nothing to do with Tesla. Why? Because he has more companies. Like, he can still manage all these companies. He has leaders, he has managers of each company. So he's still the one making all the decisions. So it's like, why are people worried? Last week, Wedbush's analyst Dan Ives removed the company from his best ideas list, citing what he called is albatross of Musk's Twitter takeover. Tesla on November 13th said that it would assist Chinese police in investigating a crash involved in one of its Model Y cars after local media reports said that 2 people have died and 3 were injured when the driver lost control of the vehicle. Musk is also consenting with the possibility of a congressional investigation. Tesla has a major recall. So this is the recall right here. The latest involves more than 40,000 2017 to 2021 Tesla Model S and Model X vehicles that could have experienced a loss of power steering, according to a recently released filing with the National Highway Traffic Administration. In October, Tesla rolled out a firmware update which included updated calibration values for the electronic power assist steering system. But that's what's so great about Teslas. You can just send out an update and you're all fixed. In rare cases, on certain vehicles, the notice said that the updated calibration values may result in reduced or lost power steering assist due to external forces such as potholes or speed bumps. Reduced or lost power steering does not affect steering control, but could require greater steering effort from the driver, particularly at lower speeds, the filing said, increasing the risk of a crash. Not good. Tesla said that it's not aware of any deaths or injuries related to this condition. As of November 1st, Tesla said 97% of its recalled vehicles have installed a new update that addresses the issue, and no further action was necessary for those owners. Tesla had another recall in October. The Tesla company said that it identified 314 vehicles with the problem. In October, Tesla issued a recall for Model 3 vehicles due to a problem with the seatbelts. So again, not really good. NHTSA said that the recall affected 24,064 Model 3 vehicles built since 2017. In September, the company recalled more than 1 million Tesla Model 3 cars because the automatic windows may exert excessive force while closing. Not good. Tesla said that it has not been made aware of any injuries, but it said that it will perform a software update with the Windows system to rectify the problem. The window automatic reversal system may not react correctly after detecting an obstruction. To rectify the problem, the agency said that Tesla would perform an over-the-air software update of the automatic window reversal system free of charge. Well, obviously, why would you pay for a problem that is caused by them? Musk complained about the term recall, tweeting that it is outdated and inaccurate. This is a tiny over-the-air update. To the best of our knowledge, there have been no injuries, the world's richest man said. I like how they're referring to him as that. In early February, the automaker recalled 817,000 vehicles because the seatbelt warning might not work properly in some cases. Here, too, the problem was solved with the over-the-air software update. So most of the problems are solved by over-the-air updates, but why don't they test these things more without just putting these cars out? It's just like they have no, quality control. They just, boom, send them. Like, they just want more and more and more cars out, but they're not doing quality control. It's just stupid. But other than that, that's all we have for today's episode. But thank you all for watching. Well, like I said, on that note, thank you all for watching, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. And look out for Friday's episode because we're going to be digging in deep into the FTX investment platform. Thank you all for watching, and I hope they have a great rest of your day.